All right, we got Brittany's 2010 Dodge Challenger in here today. I got it up in the air and realized I forgot to record. We are going to change the starter. The starter's out on it. Before you get it up in the air and start doing anything, make sure you go in the trunk and disconnect the negative side of the battery. Make sure it is nowhere near that battery post. This is not the hardest job, but it is not the easiest job. So you're gonna wanna come underneath the driver's side right here. You'll look up, you will see there is three, what I believe is 13mm bolts. One there, one up there, and one at the very top. We're gonna need to take those out to drop the starter assembly. Now, getting up to the starter up there to disconnect the cables and the plug looks like a nightmare. We've done this once before, but I gotta remember how it's all done. The starter is under warranty through O'Reilly, so that's good, but it only lasted like 2 years. So there's a spade terminal at the top we gotta get done. I'm gonna try to unbolt it and see if we can't start to wiggle it out, and maybe then we can get better access to the cable. So we're gonna start by pulling these three out and I will pick up from there. All right, so the bolts on the backside were 15mm. So we got those three out, and there's your little line holding bracket right there, so this line can be pushed around. I pushed the starter out, but you'll see it won't fit out of this hole. So the repair guide says you need to remove this entire catalytic converter here. I'm gonna hope, and what we're gonna try, is the nuts up here is 16mm, so I'm about to take that side off. I've taken this off already. We're gonna get this heat shield out of the way, hopefully, and then we will maybe unbolt the cat and just try and pull it down to get just enough space, or pull it down and push it up off the studs to get enough space to fish this puppy out. I still have not got the stuff unplugged off the backside, but it seems like it has plenty of slack, so I think it can come around and kind of get over to this area, and then we can reach our hand up and unplug it. There's just not a lot of room to work in this thing. So let me get this off and see how we can manipulate this to try and get that out. All right, the heat shield almost got us enough space, but it's not quite enough. So we're gonna zip out the nuts holding the studs up there and see if we can move it just a little bit. I may take the studs out to try and push it up and out of the way. I mean, we're lacking a ½ inch, maybe more than that. We may pull this whole freaking thing. Oh no, we're gonna start by taking it loose up there though. More 16s, and then yeah, same spots as the heat shield. So we'll take those off and see what we can do movement wise, but there's a clamp back here, so we may be able to break it apart, unplug this O2 sensor, and just get this whole unit out of our way. So you'll see, once I loosened this bracket back here, which by the way is a 17mm nut on the bottom, which is actually welded on to be captured, and I didn't notice, I just zapped it off with an impact. So if you come to the top side, it'll be a 16 like the rest. I took this clamp loose as well, but I don't think you even needed to. And then I was able to pull it down and move it to the side and buy enough space for this to fit out. And I have it right here ready to come out, but we need to get the connections off the backside. So if you look up in this hole, you can get to it now. I just don't really know how to reach it, maybe up through this hole here. But we got a little spade terminal that goes on there, but that feels shitty, boy. That might be a whole part of our problem. We're gonna swap the whole thing though since we're in here. Then we have what feels like a 13 or a 12. I'll put a little 1/4 inch drive ratchet in there. We'll get that off for the primary power feed wire. Don't know how well you can see it, but it is a stud. See if I can't get you a better view. There's a stud right up there. I will circle it on the screen. You take that nut off, and then we are ready to fish this puppy on out of here. Come on. Here we are, our new starter is in. It is very self-explanatory. Once you get this cap pushed out of the way, and the starter sitting down here, you can work your hand up through this hole here. Through this hole up here, kind of like so, right? And you can access the terminal that you pull off for the solenoid and the 13mm nut, and then you slip the new one on, tighten it down, and then push it back up in its hole. So obviously it goes up that direction with the rear and then drops into its hole with its little plate. The torque on the three mounting bolts is 54 Newton meters. So now all I need to do is put the exhaust back on here, put our O2 sensor back in, and button everything up, make it nice and tight, and we are good to go. I will have a link up here in the video and in the description below for a starter on Amazon. That was probably a better quality than these rebuilt O'Reilly's ones. If if you would like to order that. That really helps us out. Otherwise, we're just using the Remando O'Reilly's one with a lifetime warranty, and it made it about 2 years, almost 3, before it went out. So it's not horrible, I guess. But we will get this slide back together and let's see how she does. Great success.